Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Podcast 51. Uh, Today, I'm going to be interviewing Mick. He just made a film called Rolling Hills. Welcome, Mick, to the podcast.
Hi guys, glad to be here.
I just have a few questions about the movie as well. I just watched it yesterday. Great film. I really liked it. It was cool because it's filmed like in the town I live in. So I'm like, I remember walking down that street. I know that street. I know that place. I think that's cool for me. My favorite character was that your dad in the film?
Yeah, he makes the movie. Well, but thank you. That was very nice of you to say.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, I remember him. Okay, yeah. Uh, but yeah, he's like my favorite character in the whole film. If you don't mind telling us about your film.
Yeah, no problem. So it's called Rolling Hills, which is a name of a large street going down Fullerton, and I just wanted to, for my first large project like this, to um, bring it back to my roots and um, show some appreciation to this suburban bubble that we find ourselves in. Create some mythology around it, and I just wrapped in a bunch of things that I think are interesting, including DJing and permaculture. Um, I'm let me start over. Let me give you the synopsis because I've been working on this movie for a little over a year,
Oh,
and
okay.
the pitch of the film, I guess you could say, is it's about a young DJ who learns to care about his community, his friends, uh, and nature more so than um, the the struggles of working in the corporate world.
Yeah, I really like the message it sends in the film. I can relate to that. A lot of people are moving towards what your film is. The message is basically like moving away from like corporate stuff, like a lot of podcasts I watch are comedians, and they're moving away from traditional Hollywood and making their own content. Where, as if they would try to do in traditional media, they wouldn't even no one would green light this show that they would talk about. Like probably the biggest podcast right now is like Joe Rogan podcast. I don't think like a traditional like radio show would like want him to interview the people he interviews. But again, this is the biggest podcast in the world, and he has the freedom to do whatever he wants. So that's and right here too, like my podcast, the best thing is I'm
Yeah,
my own
totally.
boss, and then the worst thing I'm my own boss too. So I have to do everything. But
It's just the best.
yeah,
You have to,
and
we both have to keep telling ourselves that.
yeah. How long did you guys do filming for? 'Cause I know it's like a half an hour film, and like how long, like how many filming days did you guys do?
Right. There were 12, maybe 13 shoot days, and um I hope my audio is all right. I'm not totally certain, but
No, I can hear you fine.
um
Yeah, you're doing good.
um anyhow, it was let's say 13 shoot days. It could maybe even been 14 shoot days, and they're all organized according to the schedule of our cast and crew. This film was made off of a shoestring budget. Like I'm really happy of how it ended up turning out, considering um, it would have been well. Anyways, uh, yeah, 14 days. It was shot right at the end of 2019, right before the pandemic hit, and then um, the majority of the pandemic time was spent working on the VFX and the editing, and because we didn't get the chance to shoot the extras um, in some of the scenes, so all of the extras in these like large dance scenes that had to be or maybe I don't know. Let me ask you: did that look did it look real, or were you like, oh, this is CGI?
Uh, it did look real, like the backyard scenes or and stuff like that. Yeah, I can see that where people you know from what I could see, if you don't post it on social media, maybe it's just your close friends or stuff like that. I didn't see like, oh my god, it's not a huge party, so it's not real. I've been to both where it's like a whole bunch of people, and then there's quite a little bit of people.
Right.
So
So
either way, it's yeah.
some scenes have the real audiences, and then some we couldn't have the real audience because of the pandemic. And so I would invite people over to a green screen, and I would film each extra individually, and then
Yeah, I didn't
essentially
even notice that.
stacking a bunch of extras to make it look like um, more people than were actually there. Which in the scenes I'm talking about, there was no extras there. So
Yeah, I didn't even
um,
notice that you did that. So kudos to that. How long before did like this idea spark to make this film?
this so I wrote this film. Uh, I really wanted to make a movie for the longest time. I didn't really get um, the chance to make the sort of movies I wanted to make in college, and so I just figured I had to strike while the iron was hot before myself and a lot of my friends had to get full-time work, and nobody would be available to be making a movie like this. And so just thinking that I have to strike while the iron is hot, um, I I spent about 6 months writing up a web series, and I finished off the web series, and I was like, okay, no way I can make this. There's I don't have enough money to make this,
Yeah.
and so I ended up writing Rolling Hills, just trying to wrap up all of these sort of things I was interested in, um, being the movement of permaculture and um, uh, electronic music. And they say write what you know, and
Yeah.
I kind of broke the rules where I didn't really know this sort of stuff. And I did a lot of research just trying to learn about it. I met a lot of local DJs who taught me a lot about what DJing is like. Um, and shout out to OC Juice, which is a local hip hop group.
Oh, okay.
Um, and DJ Quest 9 helped me a lot early in the development of the film. And just um, so I've gotten off track. Did I answer the question?
Yes, yes, yes. And but I could tell that you're passionate about this film because some people like,
Oh,
oh, I don't have the
when
money.
it was April. It was the month of April 2019.
Oh, okay.
Um, and that's yeah, April. Just that whole month, I was just focused on this after finishing off this web series, and it was written. Shout out to McLean's and the whole family in McLean's, which unfortunately isn't in Fullerton anymore. It's now a different coffee shop. But the movie could not have been made if it wasn't for McLean's and being able to go there every night to write.
Oh, okay. Did they just close down or because of the pandemic? Because I remember like driving by there and
The
stuff like that.
Yeah, they closed down. Now it's Frame Coffee, right? But and they closed down just before the pandemic hit. Some That's a whole podcast episode on that alone of why McLean's had to close down and stuff. I'm sure you could probably fundraise the money needed to open a new McLean's. Um, but they closed completely unrelated to COVID and
Oh, okay.
just before COVID came to the US.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so,
And but I can tell again, yeah, that you're like passionate about this, and because like a lot of people would be like, oh, I don't have the money, I'm not gonna do it. Um, but you were like, oh, I'm gonna actually do it, and I'm gonna find a way to do it, and and you found creative ways to like I didn't even know that you had done like the green screen for like the extras and stuff like that. Uh, some
yeah,
people would just postpone
there's a
it and
lot
stuff.
of,
Yeah,
it's hard making a movie. There's so many, um, the thing I learned about making a movie, or I should say, oh yeah, it's easy making a movie, right? But,
yeah,
um, uh, the, the thing I learned is, you just have to be prepared for Murphy's Law, which is anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And so I just tried to cover as many bases as I could because this was a huge learning process for me making the movie. I was just thinking, I want to make a movie, and no one else is teaching me how to make a movie, so I might as well just make it on my own.
yeah. And yeah, again, like you said in the beginning, like you just learn just by doing and just throwing yourself in it, and learning along the way. Uh, Because I've had stuff, especially being on YouTube and stuff, and stuff deleting when you
Mhm.
didn't want it to delete, and it's just you can never get it back. I'm like,
Oh,
oh, it's just
yeah.
yeah, anything that could go wrong will go wrong eventually. So now I learned to be prepared for that and stuff like that. So talk to a lot of people, and
Mhm.
it's just it's a process.
It is a process. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask, after making a film, do you view movies now differently after making a film, or you just still watch it as a fan?
Um, I mean, yes, I have a lot more respect for watching movies and filmmakers. Um, uh, even really um really top-notch, like, multi-million dollar films. I can watch these movies now and be like, oh, they messed up there, or like they not that so much that they messed up, like these are all brilliant in the first place, but they they must have like been on a really tight deadline the day they were shooting this, or maybe they're having difficulty working with this actor, or so you can see more of, or the mechanisms that are going behind um, how a movie is made in its presentation.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. And yeah, that's why I wanted to ask, because I know that after you like you do something for the first time, you might see other people who do are doing the same thing, maybe on a larger scale or at a smaller scale. You might appreciate it more, and be like, okay, yeah, I can see that where he did that. Well, I can see how they did that now. Yeah, it's before you wouldn't even think about the small stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, something akin to that, I would say.
And have you always wanted to be, like a director and make movies, or is this something like you've come up with like later in life?
Yeah, I've always been kind of a weirdo in that sense where, yeah, I have always wanted to make movies. Um, uh, uh, just at a young age, I learned how to make claymations,
Yeah.
and um, I was really into that, and I was really into when iMovie came out. I could add like lightning effects to everything, and um, it
Oh
just
yeah,
kept
I remember that. Yeah.
it just kept escalating, and I kept sticking with it. And now, um, what was lightning effects back then is now making like psychedelic backgrounds in the
Yeah.
middle of a dance scene. Um,
Yeah, I remember
so
that. Yeah, and like the DJ scene.
yeah. Yeah, so me personally, I've always been interested in it. Certainly my interest has grown, and I see filmmaking um, a lot more intricately now, and I understand that filmmaking isn't just one thing. There's lots of different jobs when it comes to being a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Um, and so I guess when I was younger, I would say like, oh yeah, I want to be a director. And now um, it's it's not that simple, and there's a lot of connections to be made, and people to know. It's an adventure, it's a lifestyle, and
Yeah.
in the end, we're all just trying to pay rent.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And so you do want to make more movies in the future.
I do. I'm writing a feature right now, and I'm writing another web series with a friend of mine. Um, I'd love to make more features in the future, um, or web series. This was a learning process for me, and going into it, I kind of anticipated it to be a learning process. I also anticipated that it would be a lot faster to make a movie. Um, of course, the pandemic
Yeah.
hit, and there's all these various factors to account for, um, from so many different things pop up, and yeah,
But yeah, I
I
get what you're
guess
saying.
yeah.
And the actors in the film, are they like your friends, or did you get them from like theater class, or you just all
No, so I got the actors in this movie are probably the most interesting background story of the whole film, because there was a lot of work to getting these actors. Because my actor friends, uh, they they never seen me make a movie before, so they're like, I have one of my actor friends. She was in New York at the time, but for the most part, we just had to get all um, actors from Los Angeles, except for three individuals: the two partygoers and the program MC. Those were local actors. Same with the motivational speaker, which I believe you might know. I think he's your age,
yes,
Kyle.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Kyle. Honestly, he's incredible. And this movie couldn't have been made if he wasn't such a a good person. And yeah. Anyways, love you, Kyle. A- anyways, actors for the most part, they were done from this website called Backstage.com, and
Okay.
we had over 1,000 actors that we went through. Um, uh, a few hundred for each role, and
Yeah.
so we went through a really grueling process, um, to try and find uh, what could fit, and um, we did have an open casting call too, put on Craigslist, and uh, that's how Mark Stancato, who the person who played the Purgatory manager, got cast. Same with Ramondo
Okay.
Youngblood, who was the Parks and Rec manager. And then our original JoJo was actually also from an open cast. Um, but uh, due to reasons that I don't think he would be comfortable with me sharing, he had to drop from the film after our first day of shooting. And so
Okay.
really quickly we had a shoot in like 2 days, and I needed someone to fill the role of JoJo.
Yeah.
And I'm calling up a bunch of people who like look the part, and none of them can do it on such short notice. You have like this recent college grad who's like calling up people being like, hey, you want to be in this movie?
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
you'll get free lunch. And honestly, like, I'm so grateful to my dad, who took up the role of JoJo and knocked it out of the park. He did an amazing job.
Yeah. To be honest, yeah, my favorite character. And Kyle, I don't know if it was meant to be funny, but like just his cadence, I just know like Kyle's cadence is just
Right,
so
yeah.
funny. He doesn't even
He
try to be
it's
funny, and his cadence is
yeah, yeah, or he's like playing this very serious character in real life though. He's like very bubbly and positive.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you know him, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. It's just I
Yeah,
like that. I was like, oh, it's like an Easter egg for me. I don't know.
yeah, I think this film is really most special for anybody who um is you grew up in the area in Fullerton or maybe um knows people who are familiar with the area. They're the ones who are really going to benefit the most of watching this and being able to see all the little gems of like, oh, I know that place, oh, I've been there, oh, I didn't know you could do that there, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking around like Hillcrest Park. Yeah, I remember I used to work out there. In downtown Fullerton I've seen, and then where they were planting the trees.
It'll be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, I was like, oh, I know that place. I know that place. But yeah, go ahead.
Um, well, I was just going to mention that it'll be nice once these regulations are lifted and we can all explore more of these areas. I know a good chunk of the background history of the area, um, but my script supervisor for this film, Britton Rodriguez, uh, he lives in Placentia, but he knows more about um, like the history of the area than I do. Or I'd love to have like a little we could have like a Schulhauser sort of thing where him and I we can go around and like talk about the history of things in relation to the film. Who knows? Who knows?
That's actually like a cool, like kind of like a behind the scenes kind of thing,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it has like like a rich history, especially like downtown Fullerton, or yeah, just that area. And it'd just be cool to see, like, oh, this place, the history about that place and stuff like that.
I wanted to give a little bit of the sense of history. We had a lot larger animation planned for the opening of the film, um, but we did as much as we could for a 4K budget. And so the opening of the movie animation, you can thank my brother Chris Dahl, who I think did a fantastic opening animation that gives you kind of a sense of a relationship to a history or some sort of rooted cause behind where we find ourselves in the movie, even though it is very grandiose.
Yes, yes. Chris. Oh yeah, I remember Chris. Okay. That's I
There you
haven't
go. Yeah,
seen
you
these
guys
guys in
probably
a
know
while.
each
Yeah,
other too. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, and what was the other question? Oh, and I always like to ask the guests, do you have a favorite movie? Because this podcast, I changed it to like talk about just movie stuff and TV stuff, and I like to ask the guests if they have a favorite movie or TV show.
Sure, sure. I would say my favorite movie is hands down The Matrix. Um, uh, it's just an easy answer for me, and I like um, how mind blowing it was at the time. And I wasn't very old when it came out,
Yeah,
but I I just think the sort of like the sweep the rug under someone's feet sort of feeling. I think the Matrix really got that down to a T, and now um, other movies love doing these sort of I don't know plot twists methods. I guess Matrix isn't so much a plot twist, but I love the idea of breaking out of reality. I think that's a really fun idea.
yeah, and The
Um,
Matrix is like one of these movies where uh, a lot of filmmakers and copied what the Matrix did, and for the time it's cinematography and all that stuff, and like the fighting style, like was revolutionary for the time, and people have gone on to perfect it, but like I think you have to pay homage to like where it started, like, oh, this is how it started, and it's easy
Oh,
to
totally.
it's easy to make something better when there's something already there to make better, but just to come up with it all by itself. And how many movies spoof the Matrix, like that bullet scene where he's like dodging the bullets.
Oh, totally. It's iconic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the most iconic things in cinema. And another question wanted to ask is, during the pandemic, a lot of people have been watching, rediscovering shows or discovering shows they've never even heard of or seen of. Mine was Community. I never even heard of the show before the pandemic, but one of my favorite TV shows now, like in the first three seasons, I think four, five, and six. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Community is great. They're so mean now. But it's a great show. It's a great show.
I like revisiting because you can't really make a show like that anymore, especially with peers. So, but like they're trying to do like 6 seasons in a movie. I don't know if they're ever gonna do the movie. Uh, I wouldn't want to if the whole cast is not there. But have you discovered or like rediscovered a show during the pandemic?
Um, hmm, Trying to think. I've watched so much stuff. Really, if anyone's looking to discover anything, and I'll just say this shamelessly as I think about um, what I've discovered recently, I would recommend anyone, especially local to the Fullerton area, to check out RollingHillsProductions.com and checking out the movie. Uh, we don't get any of your payment or um, shipping info whatsoever, so it's all completely private. If
Yeah,
you
and I
decide to
I
watch
watched
that
it
film.
too. So go watch that if you haven't. I will link it in my bio, and it's rollinghills.com, right, where they can find it.
RollingHillsProductions.com.
Okay, yeah, make sure to
Yeah.
go check that out. And but yeah, that's probably gonna end the interview right here. We don't do really do a long podcast, but I just wanted to talk to you about like the movie. Is there anything you wanted to add, or you didn't get to say about your movie?
Um, First off, thanks so much for having me on here, Isaiah. Congratulations on podcast 51.
Thank
And
you.
I hope you just keep at it, keep it going. And um, uh, Rolling Hills, the making of Rolling Hills
Yes, I
has
really
been a
appreciate
huge
it.
adventure, and there's a lot of um, there's a lot of background and history that even the name Rolling Hills has, and so I don't mean to outshine um, the Rolling Hills name in the area, but just to provide sort of lore and mythos and spice it up a little bit and um, let people know that it's okay to be creative, to go out there and it's very possible to have these sort of things like this podcast or this movie. There, it's all very possible, and it just takes one step at a time. Um, I really should have prepared something. It's just like an acceptance speech, but it's really whatever. I'm I It means the world to me if you check out RollingHillsProductions.com. This is the first movie for Rolling Hills Productions and the first movie for for myself that's this big, and I plan on to continue making more movies, and I love working with um, people in the Fullerton area. you know.
Oh, and just one more question. And if you make another movie, are you going to do like the same kind of feel of movie, or are you, or do you want to make like a completely different movie? Are you open to like doing like different genres of movies?
Um, Probably the next thing I make is going to be um uh we have two season ideas for this web series. Title pending. We're thinking we'll call it The Cancel Chronicles. Um,
Well, that's a good
about
name.
about about people being canceled. Um, and what
So
it
it's,
means.
that's yeah.
So well, we have a kind of a drama plot going on, and we also have a comedy plot going on. Um, so that'll be fleshed out, and um, what I tend to be writing, and I just can't help it being a fan of Andrew Jodorowsky. Um, I end up writing like this psychedelic films, um, and so I would say um, that's not really that much of a genre, but I guess fantasy.
Well,
Um,
you make it a genre, you know.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So it could be a genre. Um, it's it's I feel like it's a touchy subject to talk about, especially in the suburbs when uh everything is so perfect and like refined and it's like I'm not trying to like bring chaos to any sort of situation. Um, but it is uh, topics that I'm interested in, like understanding like Carlos Castaneda. That's another anthropologist who's interesting. But I'm saying all these sort of things that are going to open up all these sort of can of worms. And you, the listener, I just want you to remember, check out RollingHillsProductions.com.
Yes.
It not only supports me as a filmmaker, but it also supports all of the incredible cast and crew who we all worked really hard to putting this film together. Um, and I should mention, please check it out um, soon because it is February 25th now, and it's likely that it'll actually be taken offline March 6th. And that is because the film is currently in its soft premiere. And its hard premiere is going to be happening once it gets into the first of its film festivals. Um, there's a few things um, that I really love the appreciation for this film, but there are a few little tweaks and adjustments that'll be done to the film to just make it that much more presentable for a festival run. So check it out before March 6th. March 6th is the last date, which um, you'll be able to watch it if it's in the festival scene.
Oh, and if they purchase it, can they watch it after the date or?
If you purchase it, yes, you can watch it after the date.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So make sure
you'll
to
have a
purchase
special
it so
link
then
for
you
that.
guys could watch it. Um,
It will be back online again in the future after March 6th.
and the Instagram. What's the Instagram? So maybe people can check it out there as well.
Right, yeah, check out on Instagram we're at Rolling Hills Movie, and please follow us there if you're cool or not. We'll follow you back. We're just trying to grow our audience at the moment, and um, uh, yeah,
Yeah, and I'll be
this
posting
is
that on my story
yeah,
as well. So,
yeah.
and I'll be
Please,
posting it.
and we'll certainly make a post supporting your podcast as well.
I really appreciate that. Uh, again, this is I was like a little bit nervous because this is like my first time. Because usually you just interview people who are like this is like my first like collaboration where I'm promoting something and then you know so it's I was like okay, so I wrote down some questions. I'm like I don't want to forget anything because I was like Because I was
Totally, yeah.
yesterday I was just like thinking of questions, like what questions could I ask, and about the movie and stuff like that. And I really
That's good. Is
appreciate
that
you coming on the podcast. And but yeah, and I think that's how we can grow too. Is like people promoting each other's stuff, and I really appreciate you being on here, and I will promote your stuff as well. Make sure to go check that out. I'm gonna have all the information on my Instagram pod_cast51. Uh, Make sure we're not on Apple Podcast yet. We're working on that, but we're on Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Listen Notes now. To make sure to check us out there as well. So thank you again. And when you make the next film, hopefully we can do this again.
sounds good? Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is this a recording going to be edited at all, or is this just everything raw? This is all part of the podcast.
Is there anything you want me like to cut out or anything?
No, no, no. I'm just wondering.
I'll probably try to like refine it a little bit, add some music, at the beginning, and usually I just post it. But I try to refine it a little bit, here and there.
Okay, awesome. Very cool. I should also mention if you want to follow me on my future ventures, great way to support obviously is by checking out rollinghillsproductions.com. But you can also find me on my personal account on Instagram, which is bcosmic, which is because like porque, and MIC. So that's BECAUSEMIC.
Is there any other social medias that's on, or is it just Instagram?
That's Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. Um,
The Twitter is the same
and
handle.
yeah, yeah, that's like my go-to handle. Um, yeah,
Oh, okay. Oh, and then I just got on TikTok. Be posting content there in the future. So make sure to check me out there. Same handle as well. Pod_cast51. Got to stay with the
very
times, I
cool.
guess.
Watch another app is gonna come out any second.
I heard there was like a new one, but I'm like, the old one goes out, a new one comes in.
Yeah, follow me on Clubhouse at bcosmic.
Yeah, that's the new
Uh,
one, right? Yeah,
is one of them. Yeah,
yeah.
you
Follow
can
me on
send me
MySpace. Oh,
crypto
that's not it.
dailies.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you really want to get to know me, ask me my Venmo handle. No.
Oh man, that's too funny.
Yeah. Um, Thanks so much for having me on, Isaiah, and I'm wishing the best for podcast 51. And I think there's a whole world of indie filmmakers um, that I'm sure would love to be on this podcast.
I really appreciate that. Be reaching out to some people pretty soon, so really appreciate it. It takes one person to get the ball rolling, so I really appreciate it.
Definitely, definitely. Well, thanks again so much.
All righty, you have a good one.
All right, you too. Thank you, Isaiah.